Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Spring 2021 Convocation. You're going to be muted when you first enter, but the chat is available, and I hope you take an opportunity to say hello to everybody. We're looking forward to some time together after our whole district convocation where we can connect as a CRC community. So we're going to start with our land agreement. A video was put together as part of the 50-year celebration. And so let's acknowledge the people whom we must thank first.
We acknowledge the land currently occupied by Cosumnes River College as the traditional home of the Miwok and Nissean people. At its January 2020 meeting, the Cosumnes River College Participatory Governance Council approved the recommendation to formally adopt the use of a land acknowledgement statement that recognizes the original indigenous people of the land where Cosumnes River College has been located 50 years. Through this acknowledgement, Cosumnes River College is showing its respect and gratitude for indigenous people and their enduring relationship to the land.
These sovereign people have been caretakers of the area since time immemorial. The state of California is home to more than 110 federally recognized Indian tribes, representing the most diverse set of tribal nations anywhere in the United States. Despite centuries of genocide and occupation, the Miwok and Nissean people continue as vibrant and resilient federally recognized tribes, bands, and rancherias.
The waters of the Sacramento, American, and Cosumnes rivers have nourished Miwok and Nissean tribal communities with culture and dietary sustenance throughout time. Cosumnes of the Cosumnes River derives from the Plains Miwok language. Stemming from the words Cosum, meaning salmon, and Umne, meaning place of, translates as the place of salmon.
Today, we celebrate our Miwok and Nissean tribal neighbors as the ancestral stewards of this land and honor their sustained existence. It is with their blessing and continued guidance that Cosumnes River College seeks to provide an accessible, equitable, and principled institution of learning.
Thank you. And now we will start our program with Classified Senate President Julie Olson.
Thank you, Lisa. Welcome, faculty, classified managers, to the best spring semester ever in the history of CRC. My name is Julie Olson, and I am the Classified Senate President. On behalf of the Classified Senate team, I would like to welcome you and at this time acknowledge our Classified Senate team. Miguel Limos, VP, Julia Villahuevos, Secretary, Janie Yang, Treasurer, and Jennifer Patrick, Past President. I want to take a couple of minutes to inform the campus community of what is ahead for the classified this spring semester. Exactly a year ago, all classified members participated in the first Equity Institute. Due to the pandemic that affected not only the nation, but directly the campus in March, follow-up to the Institute had to be placed on hold while we shifted our focus in other areas to support our students. Now that we are just under a year into the stay-at-home order and now working remotely is normal, the Equity Institute will reconvene this spring semester. The classified will have the opportunity to unpack, learn, assess, and transform their minds and services towards students and each other regarding equity. The classified professional's role is essential in closing equity gaps among various student groups. The college has made a commitment to ensure that classified professionals have an opportunity to receive training and participate in professional development activities. In just a few areas in which the Spring Equity Institute will focus on. The format of the Institute will be a 4-part series. There will be a commitment from management to close service areas so that all employees can participate. The theme of the series is ensuring diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Some of the specific topics that will be covered in this series will include foundational knowledge on race and equity, why equity matters, some self-reflection, addressing past and present practices that lead to inequitable practices, classified's role and responsibility regarding the We Won't Fall campaign, and how to handle difficult and uncomfortable situations with an equity-minded focus. Each part of the series will be 3 hours long with a 10-minute break in between. The format will include speakers and small group discussions. Each classified member will receive an Outlook meeting invite, and technology will be provided to those who do not have it. As a classified president, I look forward to serving and continuing to advocate for my classified members in my final semester in my president term. Thank you, and I look forward to another great spring semester. Now I would like to introduce your academic Senate President, Greg Breyer.
Thank you, Julie. And I'd like to say on behalf of the Academic Senate, welcome to the best spring semester ever in the history of Cosumnes River College. Your Senate officers are Vice President Scott Crozier, Secretary Lisa Marie Meleros, and past President Julie Oliver. This semester, we in the Senate continue our work to support equity and anti-racism, and will be actively involved as plans are made for reopening campus whenever that occurs. Traditionally, at Spring Convocation, the Academic Senate President presents 3 awards that recognize the dedication of our outstanding faculty. This spring, these awards take on special meaning as they demonstrate the excellence that is possible in the midst of multiple crises. And I'd like to begin by thanking the members of the Academic Senate Awards Committee, Scott Crozier, Anastasia Panagakos, and Catherine Mayo. The first of these 3 awards is the Exemplary Program Award. Our winning program has increased its student enrollment each year, even in the midst of the pandemic. And this is in a discipline where many of their courses must be taught in person. An example of how they responded to continue supporting students is an event called Speed Dating Your Intern, Speed Dating Your Next Intern. Each year, around a dozen of our industry partners participate in this opportunity to support the department's internship program. And last year, it was done using Confer Zoom. This allowed students to showcase their talents and hard work in spite of the challenges imposed by the pandemic. The program has been recognized by the California Community College Chancellor's Office as a strong workforce star. It models effective collaboration between faculty, administrators, classified professionals, and our industry partners, and showing how they can serve students. This program is under the leadership of Dean Colette Harris-Matthews, Department Chair Ryan Connolly, and Department Head Corey Fisk. Please join me in congratulating the winners of the Exemplary Program Award, Construction Management Technology.
Yay!
Thank you. The second award is the Golden Hawk Diversity Award. The recipient of this award is also our nominee for the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges Stanbeck Stroud Diversity Award, which acknowledges an individual or group that is exceptional in contributing to the advancement of intercultural harmony, equity, and diversity at their college. This year's winner of the Golden Hawk is a group of faculty. They represent all of our career and academic communities, working together through conferences, workshops, and brainstorming sessions to develop strategies that reduce and eliminate our students' achievement gaps. They then bring these innovations back to their CRC, where these individuals are viewed as trusted colleagues who lead brave conversations using a discipline-specific lens to help each student succeed. An example of their work were the breakout sessions at both the spring and fall convocations in 2020, when faculty within each CAC identified excellent teaching practices to help address achievement gaps with equity in mind. Please join me in congratulating our winners of the Golden Hawk Award, our teaching and learning leads, Drew Carlson, Martin Flynn, Kelsey Ford, Timmery Hagenberger, Howard Lewis, Lisa Marie Medeiros, Brandon Maranaka, and Amanda Paskey.
Hey.
Our final award is the Crystal Apple Award. This person will also be our nominee for the Statewide Senate's Hayward Award, which honors both full-time and adjunct faculty that demonstrate the highest level of commitments to their students, their college, and the profession. But the ASCCC will only award faculty who have a record of outstanding performance in their professional duties, as well as a record of active participation on campus. Our nominee's leadership demonstrates this record. The winner of the Crystal Apple Award is a leader in our work to become an anti-racist organization. She leads by example through active participation in related workshops and conferences, has hosted book clubs where literature on the topic is discussed, and empowers other faculty to publicly speak the truth of their experiences with racism. She is a leader in the community where she supports the Stanford Settlement, which improves neighborhoods and strengthens families, and in her work as a Sacramento Master Gardener. She teaches in our city and in the statewide Master Gardener Conference, though her Master Gardener skills are perhaps best used in her leadership to plan, plant, and maintain the Cosumnes River College Native Plants Garden. She is a leader in her department, building the kinds of relationships with full-time and adjunct faculty, area deans, and classified professionals that made her an effective department chair. In hiring processes, in scheduling classes, she frequently stresses the needs of students. This focus and her time as department chair serve her very well as a leader in the Academic Senate, where she makes a difference at our college, at the District Academic Senate, and with the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges. Her commitments to faculty purview over academic and professional matters has influenced how our district and college have dealt with various challenges. Speaking of challenges, she is a leader in our struggle to cope with the pandemic. This began with her service on the college's emergency task force and the use of her academic expertise to educate all of us on the science surrounding this new pathogen and the significant measures that continue to be needed to mitigate against the risks presented by COVID-19. She is a leader in the transition to online learning, both sharing her expertise with instructional design in general and with how to use Canvas in particular. During her separation, she has been a leader in fostering interpersonal connections. Her Zoom lunches and happy hours have been a welcome relief to the isolation many employees face and show her care for both colleagues and students. Her key strength as a leader is her communication, which is clear, concise, thoughtful, and enhanced by commitments to transparency. And who can resist appreciating the canine co-star of her regular video meetings? Please join me in congratulating the winner of the CRC Crystal Apple Award, Julie Oliver.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It wouldn't be possible with all of you. You know, I look at all these squares and you guys are all amazing. And I thank you. I think my department, past and present, have to throw Susan, Andy, Fred, and Mary Beth in there. Classified professionals wouldn't function at all without you. SME, just everybody, the deans, the faculty, everyone's been amazing. And I also have to thank the people who nominated me, the people who voted for me, and acknowledge Lisa Abraham, the other nominee, who I have the utmost respect for. And we had a dialogue shortly after being nominated about how much we each respected each other. So Lisa, you deserve the Crystal Apple Award just as much as I do or anyone else does. So kudos to you and to all your work throughout your years at CRC. And I just want to say one more thing. I couldn't take this opportunity to not thank my mom, who is sitting off screen. She's my rock. She's my eternal love support, and I love you dearly. But what I really want to say is we are here to support our students. So to help honor all of our honorees, all of our award winners, and all of us, please go today, now, to the Los Rios Colleges Foundation COVID-19 Relief Fund and give some money to help our students. They need it now more than ever. We are all far more privileged than they could imagine to be. So I'm challenging CRC to blow the donations off the charts today, even $5 or $10 from everybody on this call. Wow, that would be amazing. So that's my wish in winning this award, to challenge everybody to help our students. So thank you all very much.
Congratulations, Julie. And that is it from the Academic Senate. Let's have a great semester.
Thank you so much for those. Congratulations to all the award winners. And Julie, thank you for that gracious shout out. That was really nice. Okay, so this morning's program for us is founded on the feedback we received from people that what people have missed during these remote working conditions is connections with one another. And so the PD committee decided we wanted to at least approximate a convocation experience where we all consider a theme, and then we're in the recital hall and we can turn to one another and talk about that theme and share our responses with one another. So as the PD committee was considering a theme, Jeanette Mulhern, who's part of our committee, shared a process that's used in ECE called acknowledge, ask, and adapt. And we're using those keywords a little bit differently, but we felt like they gave us a kind of structure for ways that we could support our students as well as one another. And when we're thinking about our students, I believe it's Dr. Luke Woods who said, nothing about them without them. And at CRC, we're trying to become more intentional about inviting students to give us their feedback whenever we're planning anything that will affect them. So our conversations, our self-assessments, everything, we want to hear our students' voices. And so some of our colleagues reached out to students at the end of last semester, and this was a difficult time to construct a video, but we have a lot of dedicated, talented people who were able to put together a video of students. We gave them a few key questions and prompts, and then recorded their responses to those questions. And so you can see in the box that's pinned up there, here's what we have planned. Is we're going to watch the video. It's about 10 minutes at the most. We're going to talk about those ideas in small groups. Yes, we are. And then we're going to reconvene to hear from a few of the small groups about what we heard. So these are the prompts we gave the students. We acknowledged that fall 2020 was a tough one, and we gave them a chance to share their experiences with us. We asked them what helped them persevere and succeed, and we listened for the ways that they adapted to the challenges so that we could learn from our students. So now we'll hear from our students.
What barriers have you come across?
Finding a dedicated workspace to actually do my learning.
We live in Wilton, so there's not really any internet out here. So we've just had to go off of our hotspots. There's 6 people in one house, and we don't really have 6 rooms. So it's everyone's on Zoom at one time, and you can hear them while you're trying to be in your math class, and it's just difficult.
I actually dropped my sociology class at the beginning of the semester because I couldn't really focus on my work since I don't have my own quiet place where I can focus on my college work. So therefore I dropped it because it was really stressful.
Having to work on assignments, quizzes, and a test on my phone when my laptop was broken down.
A big barrier for me was having all asynchronous classes and all my work due on Sundays. So I would really push it all back and then struggle on Sunday to get everything turned in by midnight on Sunday.
So some things that I had trouble with this semester were communicating with the professors. So sometimes I would send an email to a professor and I wouldn't get a response back. And I understand that they have other students and faculty sending them emails. So I thought that was difficult. That was a difficult thing that I had trouble with.
What didn't work for you?
Some professors don't update the Canvas grades like soon enough. Like I have one class that it still says no grade. I don't know, like I think I'm doing well, but I don't know the actual numbers. So that would be really great to see.
I've taken like summer classes before where they were just online. So it wasn't that difficult switching to online, but I think it was the fact that all of them were going to be online, to where it felt like at one point you were just juggling classes, because when you went to class you could attend and then you had to do, you could even do it like before practice, like for us, whereas like now online it's like all the days are open and you just like, they're just telling you to go do stuff. So that's what made it hard. But
I didn't really need a lot of help for my classes, but for maybe other students, finding help with like classmates is hard because you don't know who's in your classes as well as you do if you were in person.
Being there in person, because for me, I'm more like, I like to socialize with like my classmates and my teacher and like build a relationship with them. So I think it was harder for me to like, I had all asynchronous, so that was kind of hard too, because I didn't really get to talk to any of my teachers or classmates like face to face. So I think that was just the biggest thing.
I've had difficulty with sometimes if it's a synchronous class, but there's not enough room for feedback and questions and people to talk about what's being taught. That would help me a lot more if there was more space to ask questions and to figure things out. Because if it's a synchronous class, it's helpful to be able to talk as well within it.
Kind of had a little bit of issues with the CRC, the bookstore. I know some of my other teammates, they did as well. But it kind of was like it was like really late. Like they wouldn't really get our books on time. But I know it's because there was just so many orders that it was just like overwhelming for them. That's why I really appreciated my professors who would give me the download of the book, or I could just actually find it like on Amazon or somewhere else. But then for the ones that are like directly through the bookstore, it just took too long.
What support was available in and outside of the classroom that was helpful for you?
What has been helpful to me is the Puente program, because the professors are guiding me through the semester, including my counselor who helped me enroll in my English classes and my HCD class. I can rely on Puente for help, and they just motivate me to continue to work hard and finish this semester strong.
The support that I got helped me through those barriers, as I was able to trade in my laptop for a new one through the CRC library, their lending laptop program.
Office hours are so much better now via Zoom. There's so many times I needed to go see my professor, but I couldn't physically travel. So the convenience of having that support with the time frames and being able to do it at my leisure is a very great benefit.
One of my professors would explain all the assignments. She'd make videos every single week. And then she also had a Zoom meeting. We didn't really have to attend, but she would have it open, just have an hour, just so if we had questions.
I've always been kind of scared of office hours. I had never actually gone in person, but I went to my first one yesterday. It was really helpful. My professor for drawing, she hooked up her iPad and was sharing her screen from her iPad to show me what I could do to improve my drawing. She brought the photo over and was drawing on it, and that was really helpful. And just getting to talk one-on-one was really nice.
My accounting teacher, she did go out of her way and set up one Zoom call at the beginning of the year, and we kind of got a feel for who she was.
and she told us a little bit about her family and everything. It just kind of made things more personal. So that way when we did reach out to them, it didn't feel like we were reaching out to like someone we didn't even know.
Something that has worked for you.
I think the pre-recorded lectures were huge, like being able to rewind if you didn't understand something and kind of look at it at a different time when you're in a different mindset or whatnot, was really nice.
Pre-recorded voice lectures are primo. So it's a PowerPoint presentation with the voiceover of the professor explaining what's going on versus like, here's the PowerPoint, which is what we would get when we were, on campus, where you would just get it and you just have to be like, I guess I'll have to remember the lecture. But it's nice to have the professor's voice, explaining what we're being shown.
I personally think that this is a good tool to utilize because I have more personal feedback from teachers, more one-on-one time with them rather than having to wait after class and wait in a line to speak to them and being rushed out because they have another class, to teach, or they have, something else to do and it's outside of their office hours.
I really liked when professors would put us in small groups. Because when you're in like a big lecture, I never feel like I know anyone in the class. But sometimes like we'd be put in small groups for a critique or like showing each other something and talking about what we were just talking about in the big lecture. And it helps you to like establish a connection with the people around you.
Support, even from tutoring and math and all that. Like I was going through I've been going through a rough time, like from this transition, like along with depression and everything. But even like tutors like Brandon and everything helped me like get to people I need. So I just thought that everybody was really helpful, even if it wasn't just about school.
I hope this was informative and thank you.
I think the teachers that are here on the front lines with us and are roughing it out with us and support us students really speaks volumes to our education and the education system. That during these tough times we can evolve from it and we can all work together for a better cause. And that's not just, in general, that's just in general. But I do want the teachers to know that they're doing a really good job for what they've been dealt with and what they've been given on such a short notice. Because I know a lot of teachers, whether they're in college or they're in grade school, they're suffering just as much as the students are. And I just wanted them to know that their efforts aren't going unnoticed. And I do appreciate everything that they do for us and can do for us, in this short amount of time that we've dealt with this pandemic. And thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be a good student.
Isn't it so nice to hear from our students? We're happy to hear their voices, and now we get to hear one another's voices. So we're going to get a chance to have breakout sessions with small groups. You're going to be, everyone on this giant Zoom meeting is going to be getting a chance to talk with just 5 other people. We're going to be in small groups of 6. And we're going to take about 30 minutes for this. And we have 3 prompts here, thinking about 10 minutes per prompt. And don't worry, the prompts will be in the chat when you get to your room. So what we're hoping that you'll do when you're there is introduce yourself. And if you'd like, share one good thing that happened over winter break for you. And please then, we'd like to hear from you or have you share with each other essentially the same things that the students just shared with us. For fall 2020, what were your challenges and what helped you get through and what adaptations did you make? I know everyone here has been extremely creative over the last few months, to say the least. And then we're hoping that you'll save some time to talk with each other about your takeaways from the student testimonials, what they shared with us about their challenges and what helped them and how they adapted. And then finally, how the student messages might inform our own work as we are going into spring. So or the kind of experiences that you shared with one another, so that we can take all of our experiences and all of us approach spring renewed and with more tools and sense of connection with one another. And so now we're very grateful to Dr. Claire Oliveras, who's going to talk to us about what could happen within these small group sessions.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, friends, colleagues. I'm delighted to be able to share a little bit about setting the tone and context for our small group work together. It's really important to think about how we want to create a welcoming and inclusive space together in our brief and small breakout sessions. First would be to think about setting intention, to be aware of time. We're in an agenda environment, we have limited time together, and to really try to use the time together to be sure everyone has a chance to contribute and give their voice in the small group activity. And one way to also do that while we're being aware of time is to practice, be mindful of move up, move up. This is an updated take on step up, step back. Many of you already set communication agreements and know of these. Move up is an opportunity to think about if you are one who is more extroverted and is able to speak more freely because of being extroverted naturally. Think about moving up in the listening area and think about that as an area or a learning edge to be able to practice listening. And if you are more introverted and tend to be an internal processor, think about this as an opportunity to move up in speaking publicly with your colleagues and practice moving up. And so both introverts, extroverts have an opportunity to grow and expand our learning edges in small group environment or in a small group setting. And also this language is more universal and inclusive of all abilities and all mobilities, to think about moving up in our communication style, while also thinking about our role and position in small groups. Also speak from I. This is more inclusive language. It also helps to anchor your lived experience in a space. Speaking from I allows us to step in and own our own experience and use I statements. And it's also creates a non-threatening environment rather than using you, they, or them. And listen for understanding. We have this time together. We often don't get this time together, and to really use this time to be with each other, to listen for understanding and refrain from judgment or making an assumption, and assume good intent of your friends and colleagues in this space. You'll also have an opportunity to choose a timekeeper as well as a spokesperson to report back, and hope that there's enough time for everyone to be able to contribute in somewhat of a round robin style in your small group. Thank you, and enjoy the breakout group sessions.
Thank you so much, Claire. So I'll just give you guys just a little overview of what to expect next. You are going to see an invitation on your screen to join a group, and that's going to have a number on it, like group 12 or something. So click on that. And when you do, you're going to find yourself in a group with 5 other people. Please enable your camera and unmute yourself so that you guys can see and talk with one another. And the 3 prompts that we mentioned are going to be in the chat. And then in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see a time clock, just so you can kind of get a sense of how much time we have. We're spending, again, about 30 minutes on this, and thinking about 10 minutes per prompt, but just flow with it. You're going to see a button also on your screen that will enable you to rejoin this large group whenever you are ready. And so once you've had the time with your small groups, please come back. As Claire mentioned, please choose a timekeeper to kind of keep an eye on the clock. And also, could you please choose one spokesperson who might be willing to share an insight from your group with the rest of us when we come back. So we're looking forward to giving you a chance to say hi to one another and to hearing your insights when we all return in half an hour.
where we're going to be sharing out what you've discussed in your respective small groups. I know that the time was not long enough for some of you. I know you had some rich and productive conversation. So what we are going to ask you to do is to, if you could share out some of the key highlights and some of the key themes that came out in your conversation. So whoever is designated to be the one to share out, you could just go ahead and unmute yourself, and then we'll give you about 2 to 3 minutes. So if you could keep your remarks from 2 to 3 minutes, that would really be appreciated. So we'd like to hear from as many groups as possible. This session is going to go until around 11:55. So one of the things that I really wanted to highlight was it was really powerful testimonials from students. There were so many other students that participated and that gave us their testimonials. Unfortunately, we had to edit out a lot because we couldn't fit everything in the 9-minute or 10-minute time slot. So I want to express my appreciation for all those other students that sent their testimonials. Some of the key highlights they talked about finding a quiet place in terms of the challenges that they faced, finding a quiet place, some of the technology issues that they encountered, communicating with the faculty, not having Canvas updates, not knowing who is in their class, particularly for those students that were enrolled in an asynchronous courses. And some of the good things that they experienced were being able to download the actual textbook while they're waiting for their actual textbook to be delivered from the bookstore. Some of the student services programs that helped them overcome their challenges, their faculty members being available through Zoom for office hours, and then recording the PowerPoint into a video lecture. And then, so these are some of the good things that happened for the students that helped them overcome some of the challenges that they talked about. So with that, if someone can just start off by sharing any one of the groups, if you could unmute yourself and just highlight some of the key points that you talked about in your respective group.
I'll go ahead and
Don, go ahead and get us started.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Dan Dubray, but boy, it was just the positivity in our group was fantastic. And to be able to connect with people, there was a couple of people that I didn't know. So it was great just to make that bridge. You know, we just in our comments, without really a discussion prompt, we all just kind of surfaced on ways that we try to connect with the students. So there was some great suggestions there, you know, between the making sure with your office hour and other ways to make sure that the students can be able to reach you and things like that. But you know, just other ways to be able to connect with the students. You know, trying to get to that one-on-one element, even though you're in a remote setting as you go. Also there was expression of appreciation for. In our history with our culture in our college, it's been kind of like a lot of support for each other and family first, you know. And so someone described how the colleagues all came together to support, him in a difficult time with an illness in the family, and just family first. That's really important to remember too when we hear about messages about our well-being and all of those things for sure. I have to share one real quick. Evelyn Silva was in our group, and she's present. She should tell this really, but just to keep it short within our 2 minutes or whatever. When she was in her studies, one of her professors or instructors asked them to write a note about what their career goal was and what was some of their goals to get to their career. And she wrote that she wanted to become a professor in early childhood education, you know, as part of her note. And so she was greatly impacted by that professor overall. But years later, when she earned her degree, you know, as a professor in early childhood education, that professor contacted her and gave her a copy or the note that she had written way back when, and as a way to congratulate her. That's cool. I think that just inspires me, you know, what kind of things can we do to keep those relationships going with them. So much more we talked about. I didn't do it justice, but that's some of the things that we talked about.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dan. That was really a powerful example. Greg, next, and then if you'd like to share out, please raise your hand. Greg, go ahead.
Thank you, Tadael. So in our group, the challenges that we discussed, I'm going to just go straight to the great quote that one of us shared. 100% of the time, I could only give 75% of my presence. And that was due to the challenges that many of us are facing inside our own houses, like our students. For some of the solutions that came out of that, we, again, just picking one, we have increased empathy for our students and what the challenges that they are facing, because we are facing many of the similar challenges. That for some of us, that empathy led us to reevaluate some of the policies within our courses, and that perhaps the silver lining to come out of this is that we are becoming better teachers. And then the video impressions that we shared, there were two. One was how important to our students is some type of face-to-face interaction, some type of synchronous meeting, and how important it is for us to be flexible with our students. Thank you to my awesome group.
Thank you, Greg. Increased empathy. Thank you. Appreciate it. So next, Hiram, and then Lauren, then Omari, then James. Hiram, go ahead.
Thank you. In our group, we talked about obviously the limitations of interaction and the challenges that we had. Coach Bloomfield from athletics, and obviously he wasn't coaching any team sport, but was teaching or walking and jogging among students, and how that helped students deal with stress. Professor Erickson in music shared a little bit about some of the adaptations that the music department was doing, especially with respect to performance, that they're doing studio type sessions that are available on CRC's YouTube channel. And Dr. Bird and Morgan Nance talked a little bit about communicating with students through chat rooms and communicating that way. One thing that I raised, that all of us are dealing with this as through an experience that's going to define us as a generation, that much as the Great Depression seemed to define my grandparents' generation, and just commenting on that, giving context to students for that, and what this probably will mean in a larger context, kind of developed a certain camaraderie, I felt.
Thank you, Hiram. Next, we'll go to Lauren.
We were group 31, and some of the things that we learned from the student video was that kind of led to a lot of discussion in our group was asynchronous versus synchronous. And all of us who are instructional faculty, especially if you're in charge of making the schedule, you remember what a fun and challenging time that was, deciding whether or not we should be scheduling classes synchronous or asynchronous for our departments. And the realization or finding from the student's point of view that they do want that connection. And so trying, even if you're scheduled for asynchronous, trying to find a way to still have a connection or an informal meeting or something where students can still come together. And even if only a few people show up, that's a few people that you've helped to connect to your subject matter and to your class. And if that's the thing that gets those 5 out of 45 across the finish line, then you have done an amazing job and you're a rock star professor. And thank you for giving additional time to your students, because that's the thing that those 5 people that were sitting in isolation, having a hard time connecting with each other, that's the part that got them across. And another tip that was shared with the group was from one of the math faculty who talked about constant reminders for asynchronous classes, making sure students knew what was coming up and what was due. And yes, they're adults, but you want to make sure that they're not just letting it all slide till the very end, because I'm still working on stuff that I should be launching tomorrow. So, it happens to all of us. So that's another thing that was a tip that was shared in our group.
Excellent suggestions, Lauren. Thank you. So next we'll go to Omari and then James. Omari.
Hi, I think there's some little overlap here, I'm sure. Some video impressions that our group had was to remember the community and community college, of course, creating opportunity for students to connect with one another and with us is absolutely crucial. Faculty to connect with faculty is also an important thing, from office hours, recording the sound of our voices, to larger programming efforts that Hiram mentioned, such as the open mic for music and things like that. Those are really important to sort of meeting the moment. And then some of the challenges were that, exactly, meeting the humanness of the moment, confronting health like our tired eyes and our body tension and carpal tunnel and things like that from our increased use of tech, finding self-care in that process. And that included our mental health, being vulnerable and allowing space for growth under these circumstances. That sort of awareness was something that we discussed. And then moving ahead, we were very, very aware that the community, we were responding to the times, even if perhaps late in some eyes, being exclusively online forced the community at large, students, faculty, staff, to get more tech savvy and become more efficient. Forms that we wanted to go digital for years finally did, et cetera, et cetera. But we hope that these are the beginnings of good choices moving ahead.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll go to James.
Hi, thanks. My group was Matthew, Eli, Rhonda, and Michael Carney. We discussed some parts of the video that were impactful to us were the parts about a student who shared about office hours and how that changed for her when she experienced it for one time. And we talked about ways in which we could increase and improve our student interactions in office hours. Eli shared about some ways that he's done a modification and a flipped classroom type of thing that helped him to be able to set some time for students to do discussions. And then also Matthew talked about having in his teaching, being able to do a little bit of that as well with problem solving in his statistics and calculus courses. Michael discussed some of the challenges about having a center and how do you facilitate the community aspect of students and how do you facilitate them studying together. So that was one of the challenges that we discussed. We talked about some issues with working from home, and we talked about issues related to internet connectivity and distance from our work. And then that led to a discussion about returning to our offices to work, and a real desire from our group to start a conversation with all of our faculty members about whether or not there's interest in doing this. And if there is interest in doing it, how should we do it? And it would be a good stress test of policies and procedures for a reintegration of the entire campus when we do come back. So that's what we talked about. And it was a very enjoyable time to speak with colleagues.
Great ideas. We will, this conversation has to continue. So we will find a way to continue this conversation, because some of the ideas that are coming out are really, really good that we know would be very helpful for students. Next, we'll go to Ray.
Thank you, Tadael. My group was with Jeanette, Miriam from ECE, and Ivan from Math. And we had a really good conversation. So some of the challenges included equity and rigor, technology, that personal connection in the classroom, interaction to see the faces of our students because some of our students didn't have cameras, testing, and I don't want to say cheating, but perhaps accountability on the other end of the test taker, and that the realization that this is a different time for us to, as faculty, learn new things and extend ourselves professionally. We sort of skipped the second question because when we were talking about adaptations, it sort of addressed how we got through. And so in terms of adaptation, some of us did pre-recorded lectures because it helped if the student had a bad internet connection. If the lectures were pre-recorded, then that would help. Convert lab, one of the issues was when converting a lab practicum to an online section, there were no children. And so it was an emotional experience to have a ECE practicum with no children. But the helpful thing was that students that were in the Zoom meeting in the practicum brought their own children and sometimes their spouses. So that sort of substituted for the lack of children in the ECE practicum. Other adaptations that we discussed were vulnerability and understanding. The other was not having colleagues to talk to, and adapting our syllabus to ease the rigor. Some of us discussed that we were less tough, even though we're known to be tough faculty members. We were less tough. And then some of the group insights that we had included flexibility, creativity, rethinking values, the need for faculty support from the college, learn new things, and we all agreed that perhaps the district should implement a district-wide vaccination for all the faculty. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ray. Again, great ideas. The ideas are flowing. I see so many hands. This is a good thing. So if we can't get to you, we have about 7 minutes left. If we can't get to you, please go ahead and drop your comments in the chat. So next we'll go to Jason, then we'll go to Dr. Howard, then Andy, Teresa, and then Carl. So Jason.
Yeah, so I was with group 20. So that was Brian, Efren, Denise, Edward, and Venice. We unfortunately did not make a formal spokesperson, so I just kind of jumped in there. But it was a very good conversation to have because, especially with the video responses, it was an extremely well done video in that we all recognized that the students, you could tell that in some cases, even when they were kind of giving a private individual video, you could see in some cases some of the angst, I guess, coming through, even though some of the students did seem a little more upbeat about being given the opportunity to answer those questions. We saw that they were trying. So even though we didn't have a huge number of those students in that video, which was a great video again, by the way, they did give me anyway, and I expressed this with my group, the idea that they are still interested and they're trying their best. And Denise put an extra piece of emphasis in there on we have to always consider what they are going through as students, because so many of us, we are in a pretty good situation. Even though we're teaching remotely, we don't have to deal with a lot of the different anxieties that these students have in terms of, they lost a job and they're getting all of these classes, like that one student said, being lumped to their due dates on Sunday, things of that nature. So we have to keep that in mind. But when it came to some of the challenges for us as it related to those students, again, coming up to that comment that was made, we don't want to say cheating necessarily, but maybe those types of reactions from students who are feeling the pressures of being at home and the unknown. When are we getting back to campus? So that was a common theme with us, is how do we address that aspect of keeping to be. One thing I mentioned was that there was that particular student, she said that she actually felt a better connection in an online office hour with her instructor than an on-campus office hour. And I thought that was striking, because for me, it said, what do I need to do different to make a student feel like they would actually have a better interaction with me in person? Because I would hate to think that any of my students would rather see me on a camera than in my actual office hour. So I think that was something that would some of us may need to touch on. And Edward mentioned that through the online aspect, continuing with the recording of his lectures in a classroom and then posting those even when we get back on campus.
Yeah.
Again,
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jason.
I know. Go.
I'm not sure if it's my connection or.
So thank you.
Yeah, you're going in and out, or it might be me. But thank you so much. Again, I see a lot of hands. I think we're running out of time. I had called on Dr. Howard and then Andy. Maybe then if you could just skip it to 30 seconds, and then we've got a couple of things that we need to do before we conclude. Go ahead.
Sure, thank you, Tadeo. I was in the group with Rick Schubert, Brandon Murnaka, Minay, Gunther, and Paulo Soriano. Really, we mostly, to kind of build off of what Dan and Omari said about positivity, connecting with students, we looked at this as saying, hey, this is a chance to do some self-reflection, think about the way that we convey the material. Brandon made the point of saying, you know, now that we're all online, we're competing with the whole world with online content, and they can have an opportunity to learn from anywhere, from anyone, any resource. And so Brandon looked at it as an opportunity to, you know, evolve his lecture style and, you know, the quality of his presentations. Rick mentioned authenticity, saying that he was teaching one particular way, and because of one certain circumstance, had to change his teaching style completely and just decided to teach from the heart and do something completely different and put his real self forward, as he said, and that he felt that the way he communicated the material was better than what he was normally doing. And so a chance to just examine how we teach online compared to teaching in person.
Thank you so much. Andy, you'll be the last. And then just another reminder, we're going to set up a page on Canvas. I think there's already a page designated for PD. So for those of you who haven't had an opportunity to comment, we would ask you to provide your comments there on that Canvas page that we'll be sending out after this meeting. So again, I apologize. So much interest and so many great ideas. Go ahead, Andy.
I was in Team 16, and that was Lisa, Bibi, Dana, Michael Lawler, and Emmanuel, and myself. And in the interest of keeping it short, I'm going to say something that Dana said right at the very end, which was, we need to recognize that there are some things that we can control and some things that we can't. And one thing that Lisa said about being forgiving of ourselves, and I would like to turn that around and say, you know, it's not only that everything is online, it's that COVID is affecting so many aspects of everybody's lives, and some of the unrest that is happening in our political system. All of this is weighing on all of us heavily, and our students. So I just hope that we can remember that, be graceful to ourselves, graceful to our students, and remember just to be compassionate and flexible.
With that, what a way to end it, Andy. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bush. He has a short message, and then we will do something to celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday, as well as the birthdays that I think we have a couple of individuals that are celebrating their birthday today. Dr. Bush.
Yeah, thank you, Tadeo. I had full intentions today to be happy to sit back in the role of a participant and not to give any remarks. But it is really hard to do so when I am just reminded of just how blessed we are and how blessed I am to be able to be a leader in an organization that is encompassed by so many dynamic and wonderful individuals and educators and professionals as you. I don't think we could ever reiterate, I don't think I could ever reiterate enough just my admiration, gratitude, and appreciation for all of the work that you do every day to enrich the lives of our students and to uplift our institution. Oftentimes, the word sacrifice is overused. It can lose some of its depth and its meaning. But from observing all of you and being reminded of that today, I just want to acknowledge the sacrifices you have made in order to show up as your best selves for our students. While each of you are grappling with what I imagine your own inconvenience and discomforts associated with being in a pandemic, your own frustration and anger that may be manifested as a result of all the external political, issues that we are facing, but yet still, but yet still, but yet still. You grading papers, you providing feedback, you put in extra time to learn how to master delivering your content online. You're calling students, you're sending out emails and texts, you're collaborating with colleagues, you're joining committees. In spite of everything else you have going on, you have made the sacrifice, not for your own benefit, but for the benefit of the next generation, in which we're going to find hope that they're going to transform a society, a community, a state, and a country to be able to live up to their true aspirations and goals and tenets. So I thank you all. I appreciate you, and I ask that you go out with the full backing and understanding of our entire institution and supporting you in your work. Enjoy the best spring semester in the history of Cosumnes River College. Love all of you.